So the 2022 NBA draft has to be the first draft class in a while where there's no clear-cut number one pick. Sure, in prior years there were small arguments about whether DeAndre Ayton should go first or not, whether or not Ben Simmons should go first or not, whether or not Zion should go first because we're scared of his injuries, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, we all knew who was going to be selected first overall. In this year's NBA draft, we generally don't know. We can only guess. In my opinion, I believe Paolo Banchero should be the first pick in the NBA draft. I think he also is going to be the best player in the draft going forward, and I think he is currently the best player in the draft. So in today's video, I'll be giving the reasons as to why I believe Paolo has the most potential in the 2022 NBA draft. Before we get into the video, I ask you to drop a like on this video as it does help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want daily NBA content. Honestly, the first reason I think Paolo Banchero will be the best player out of this draft class is just the fact that Paolo is one of the most skilled players in this draft class. And it's not like he's just one of the most skilled players in the draft and he's like 6'4" or something. He's a legit skilled 6'10" big who could play on the outside and the inside. When you look at today's NBA, a lot of the best players in the league are tall guys who could create their own shot and do a little bit of everything on offense. Examples of guys like these are Kevin Durant, Jason Tatum, Anthony Davis, Paul George, Luka Doncic, and many others. I'm not saying Paolo will for sure be better than those guys, but all I'm saying is he has the build and the skill to maybe reach that level. And honestly, I don't think anyone else in the class has that potential like he does. To talk about his strengths, he's a 6'10" forward who could do a little bit of everything on offense. Like I said, already a very strong guy. You don't have to worry about that. Good athlete, can score on all three levels. His three-point shot has improved tremendously since high school. He's a guy who could create his own shot, especially in face-up situations. He's a guy who can attack defenses in isolation situations. Guy who's really efficient. He's not going to be a shot chucker or inconsistent. He's not going to take crazy bad shots. And the most underrated thing about this guy's game has to be his passing ability. No one's saying he's Magic Johnson, Ben Simmons, something like that, but he's definitely an above average passer, especially for his height. He can always see above the defense and always make the right plays. Just has a really nice feel for the game. Also a really good rebounder, and on defense he's pretty versatile, can guard a lot of positions. Occasionally he might take a break on defense, but he has all the tools to be a really good defender in the league, and he has shown in stints how good of a defender he could be. So clearly he's just a great player, and obviously he might have some weaknesses, but overall he really doesn't have that much. In my opinion, I think he's the best overall player in the draft, and I think a big reason why he's going to be so great is because he's honestly one of the most skilled players in the draft, and he's doing this as a big man, as I said. The next reason I think Paolo will be the best player in this draft class is due to the fact that if you just look at the way this guy is built, he's a freak athlete. I'm not going to boost him too much and say he's like a generational athlete or something like that, like a Zion, a LeBron, even a John Moran or something like that, but he might be somewhat close to that. You have to realize this man right here is a 6'10" forward who's 250 pounds, and that clearly shows that he's strong. And please don't comment that it's fat. Just look at him. You can clearly tell it's muscle and he's in solid shape. And with him being that big and that strong, you would assume that he's like not a guy who's like crazy athletic. Like, you're not gonna assume he's like some slow grandpa, but you're not gonna assume he's like very athletic, like an elite athlete. But when it comes to his vertical jump, he has a 41-inch vertical jump. That's absolutely amazing for his size. We rarely see 6'10" big man with 40-inch verts. Then on top of that, he's not slow at all. Really fast first step, able to like beat a lot of forwards like off the dribble in the league just by his speed. He's probably faster than a lot of guards and forwards in the league already. Just overall a player who's fast, can make plays in transition. I'm not even trying to boost him too much, but this guy has the best overall athleticism in the class. I'm not saying he has the highest vertical jump or he's the strongest guy, or he's the fastest guy, because guys like Jaden Ivey might be the fastest, guys like Shaedon Sharpe might jump the highest, but as an overall athlete, when it comes down to his strength, like his strength, speed, quickness, vertical jump, everything, like in my opinion at least, I think he's the best overall athlete, or he's at least like a top 3 overall athlete in this draft class. And obviously that's just an advantage over all of his competition, because the guys who are probably better athletes than him, most of them are probably not even going to be top 15. The next reason I think Paolo will be the best player out of this draft class is simply because of his mindset. A thing a lot of people really like to ignore when it comes to prospects is their story before coming to the league, the little things they do. For a lot of players, it's easy to tell when they won't be as successful as you think they will, because everyone obviously works hard like to make the NBA, but there's other players who just works way harder than others. That's how I knew a guy like Fred VanVleet would be successful coming to the NBA, never giving up. And if you know Paolo and you looked into his story, he's clearly just a guy who has the mindset to be good in the NBA. To say a few stories about him, he used to wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning just to get up extra shots up before school. During the pandemic, he wasn't able to play real games because of like COVID and stuff and where he lived. He worked crazy hard, improved the dribbling, post moves, shooting crazy amount, went up in the rankings a lot. Also, when several coaches were asked to describe him, a lot of them just said how like well-mannered he is and how he's always cool, calm, collected, always knows the right things to say, is really like well-spoken. And honestly, I think that mindset is going to allow him to persevere and be crazy good in the NBA. To conclude the video, Paolo will be the best player from this draft class. Though, in my opinion, the only thing that's holding him back is if he like deals with injuries or like that dehydration thing he was dealing with in college, or his regular injuries. If that happens, then that's out of my control. But out of anyone in this draft class, I truly believe he's the best, and I don't see any way he becomes a bust. And the only way he's not the best player in this draft class is if someone else just does way better than anyone expects them to do. At worst, I see this guy being a really good starter in the NBA. When you see his skill set and everything, there's no way he's just going to be some bad, trash NBA player who's just riding the bench. His floor to me is being a solid starter. And when you look at him, he's an athletic big who could dribble, shoot, create his own shot at a solid level. No, he's just going to be a bad player and bring no value to any team he goes to. If I have to drop a real prediction, I would say the Orlando Magic should take him number 1. I don't know if they will do that. If I had to choose a team where I think I would want him to go, it would be the Houston Rockets, because that would just make them a way more interesting team. They're already one of the more interesting young teams in the league for sure. But it would just like take it to a whole nother level. They would have a legit big 3 or 4. They would have like 6 players on their roster that have all-star potential. But I guess we'll have to see. Anyways, guys, that's it for the video. Let me know who you think is the best player in the 2022 NBA draft, and let me know why it's Paolo Banchero. Drop a like on this video, help my channel grow. Subscribe to my channel if you want daily NBA content. Also, you want us to go over 3,000 subscribers. Also, drop a comment in this video. I do respond to all of my comments. And play that intro.